You know, Meat Shields, I feel like cops in horror movies never really do their jobs. Like, either they're so dumb, they just get folded up right away, or they're literally in on it. But imagine finding out that they were actually freaking vampires. And now these blood-sucking boys in blue are out here trying to hunt you down. So if a bunch of Twilight-ass vampire cops pulled up in the projects and started turning the place into a battle royale, you surviving, pimp? Well, don't worry, because I'm here to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the vampire cops in Night Patrol. We start off at the police station where we find this dude Wazy in the middle of a pretty crazy situation. He's cuffed to the table with some kind of freaky-looking rock stuck in his side, and it seems like the cops ain't exactly in a rush to help. But how did he end up there? Well, it all started a few nights back when he had a secret meetup with this girl, Primo. You see, Wazy's on the blue team and she's on the red team, so they've got a little Romeo and Juliet thing going on. But when my guy breaks out this Green Lantern-ass ring he borrowed from his mom, Primo just gives it back and says that they're not that serious. Just then, womp womp, it's the cops, and they start telling Primo to get out and put her hands up. But that was her biggest mistake. At first, it just seems like a normal shakedown, but then out of nowhere, one guy just gets out and blams Primo straight in the dome. Wazy takes off as they send this buff dude chasing after him. The guy who shot Primo notices Wazy's gamer tag painted on his bike. That's gonna be important later. He dips over a fence and hides behind some random building until the cop spots him. But just when it looks like he's done for, Wazy's ring starts glowing with green energy, and the cop suddenly decides to back off. Damn, talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time, though. Now, you might think that there's not much my guy Wazy could have done here, but if I'm being honest, his problems started a long time ago. Like, first of all, meeting up with this girl Primo, bad idea, because look, I know everybody wants to find love out there, but bro, she wasn't even that into him. And like she said, if anyone from her side found them, it's curtains. So to be honest, it's not really worth the risk. And here's the other thing. Most people don't realize this, but a car parked in an alley is basically the city version of a cabin in the woods. And what I mean by that is there's at least a 50-50 chance of some psycho pulling up and putting you on a t-shirt. I'd probably find another place to make out, just saying. Now, what makes this different is that instead of some dude with a machete, it was crooked cops. And honestly, that makes it even worse. If it was just some dude in a trench coat, they could just blast him with the gat and call it a night. But if it's the cops, there's not really much you can do. If you try to run, it's just gonna make things worse. So pretty much your only choice is just play along. But Primo did that and they still blasted her for no reason. So what are they supposed to do then? Well, there was one thing they could have done, and that's whip out their phones and start recording, because especially after seeing these guys didn't have their body cams on, recording might have actually made them back off and find another target. But worst case scenario, at least Wazy would have some evidence. I don't know why these dudes just let him take off, but my guy, what kind of escape plan was that? After he hopped the fence, I was like, oh yeah, this dude is gone. But then he just stops and hides 2 feet away. How dumb can you be? And after what they just did to Primo, I'm gonna be moving out here like Forrest Gump in his prime. So Wazy's lucky his plot armor saved him in the end, but now that these cops know his face and they found his bike, he's pretty much doomed. The next day, we see this dude, Officer Hawkins, out patrolling with his partner, Officer Xavier Carr. He asks Xavier if he recognizes that nickname from the guy's bike. Well, the thing about Xavier is he actually grew up right there in the neighborhood, and he doesn't just recognize the name, it's literally his brother's gamer tag. So he decides to call Wazy up and see what's going on. Sure enough, Wazy's acting all shady when he picks up the phone, but when Xavier asks him about the bike, he just ducks the question and hangs up. Wazy heads over to the red team's side of town, looking to talk to this guy Bornelius. And the next thing he knows, bam, someone sticks a bag over his head, and he wakes up tied to a chair in the red team's base. Bornelius comes out asking why he shouldn't blam him just for showing his face around there, but that's when Wazy breaks the news about Primo, and it turns out she was this dude's little sister. So he's not too happy when he hears what happened. But when Wazy explains it was Night Patrol, they decide to let him go so he can show them what happened. So they head back over to the scene of the crime, and yep, there's Primo, but it gets worse because somebody completely chopped her up. So the next question is, why? Well, these dudes are into some pretty heavy conspiracy stuff, so they immediately start thinking that some kind of demon must have done it. Even though Wazy keeps saying it was the cops, they're actually pretty damn close to the truth. That night, Wazy heads back to his mom's place and waits until she goes goes out and then ducks upstairs to his bedroom and goes straight for his secret stash, but the money is gone. And that's when Mom walks in and catches him. He's trying to apologize when she notices the ring on his finger, and it gets worse when she finds out that he was meeting up with Primo. But then Wazy explains that Night Patrol pulled up and shot her. And when she finds out they saw his face, Mom starts bugging out, saying that they're gonna come for him next. Meanwhile, we cut over to this random trap house where this guy's just peacefully playing Xbox, until these two dudes from Night Patrol walk in and just blast him for no reason. Not cool, man. Then they take his Uzi and mow down this other dude from the red team while he's just taking out the trash. So it looks like they're up to something, and this time one dude gets down and starts licking the blood. But then the deputy comes along and says to save it for the hunt. It looks like the cops in this town are on some Count Dracula type so that's pretty bad for my dude Wazy, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, if this was real life, the smartest choice would probably be to just lawyer up and make a report. Especially since his DNA is all over the crime scene, he's gotta be careful they don't just turn around and blame the entire thing on him. But honestly, I don't think these guys really care if you file a complaint, so I guess we're gonna need another plan. Now, all this weird Nosferatu stuff definitely makes it seem like they are vampires, and as we all know, vampires can't get in your crib unless you invite them inside. So if I just don't let them in, I should be good. Well, not exactly, because this time they just barged right in this dude's house. No invite or nothing. So do they just get a warrant and that beats the invite rule, or are they kind of like the 30 Days of Night kind and they can just go wherever? That's an important difference, but either way, I guess that's not gonna work. Well, after seeing what they did to Primo and knowing that they saw my face, I'd probably just hop on a bus, change my name, and start over. Cause sorry, but I'm not trying to deal with all that. But since Wazy's mom already took all of his cash, he can't just dip either, so it seems like he's gonna be in a bit of a pickle. But I still do have a plan. So if I can't run, and I can't hide, then I'm gonna need a way to protect myself. We saw in the very beginning that these cops are afraid of his mom's ring. So all I would have to do is just keep that bad boy on me at all times, and I'm chillin'. Also, Wazy's mom seems like she already knows what's up with these dudes. So if I had to stick around and face them, I would definitely ask her more about what they are and how to pack them up, and see if she had any more jewelry, magical artifacts, or other stuff that might help me out. Then all I gotta do is stay home at night and keep some magic jewelry on me just in case, and I'm set. Easy. As for Hawkins and Xavier, they're chilling, getting some target practice in when Xavier starts congratulating Hawkins for making Night Patrol. Well, Hawkins says it's weird for a guy from his background to be so hype on the cops, so Xavier gets to explaining why he ended up joining the force. He says his dad was a big blue team guy back when they were kids, and he got his whole family involved in it as well. Until one day their mom just turned around and smoked the dude during an argument, and that's when he decided to become a cop. Well, Hawkins says that he's got some daddy issues as well, cause his pops was actually part of the Night Patrol. Keyword being was, cause yeah, he's dead. And he's convinced that Night Patrol had something to do with it. So that's why he's been trying to join them ever since, so he can figure out what happened to his old man. And speaking of those guys, that's when the Night Patrol deputy pulls up and tells Hawkins to get in. But before he leaves, Xavier pulls him in close and tells him about his brother, and Hawkins promises to look out for him, if he can. Apparently, the deputy ain't too happy about Hawkins joining their squad, but the Sarge already said that he's in, so it looks like he's just gonna deal with it. He doesn't tell Hawkins where they're going until they pull up outside of Wazy's place, but then the deputy just pulls out a blicky and tells him to go take care of it. So Hawkins grabs the dude's bike out of the trunk and heads up to the front door. Wazy's mom, Ayanda, ends up letting him in, and as soon as Wazy sees who it is, he starts freaking out, thinking that he's about to get blasted. But instead of him doing the dirty, Hawkins just says that he brought his bike back and tells him to use it, aka he's telling this kid to get out of town while he still can. But he leaves without giving them any trouble. And when he gets back to the whip, he just lies and says that Wazy wasn't there. Well, now it's time for Hawkins to officially join the squad, so they bring him over to this random spot on the edge of town so he can meet the Sarge. But it turns out it's his freaking dad. Yeah, apparently Pops is still alive, Well, kind of, anyway, and when he sees him, Hawkins just starts spazzing out, thinking that it must be a trick. But nah, it's really his old man, and that's not even the weirdest part, because he starts saying all this freaky stuff about being reborn and living forever. Hawkins is all like, nah, this can't be happening, but then yeah, the deputy just knocks his lights out, and while he's lying there on the ground, Pops walks over and starts making him drink his blood. But it's not over yet, because then he just pulls out the strap and blams Hawkins right on the spot. So, weird family reunion to say the least. Okay, well, I guess Hawkins finally knows what happened to his dad. But seriously, bro had to be a total moron to even trust these dudes in the first place. Like, let me get this straight. He thought these guys killed his old man and covered it up, so his plan was to join them and take them down from the inside? My guy, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I mean, obviously they're gonna see that coming. It's not like they don't know who you are, and he wasn't even trying to hide it. He's just like, hey, it's me, the guy whose dad you killed, and I'm going to join the squad. And he really thought they were just gonna fall for that. Nah, dude's just gotta be a few donuts short of a box, if you know what I'm saying. Honestly, when he started getting promoted way faster than anybody else, that should have been a red flag too. Like even Xavier said, most guys gotta wait years for a shot at night patrol. So anybody with 2 brain cells would have found it sus that they just picked him out of nowhere. But meanwhile, Hawkins is like, dang, my plan is really going good. Not too smart, man, I'll tell you. Now, I'm not saying he should have predicted they would all be vampires, and I know having his dead dad just pull up would be hella shocking, but once Pops started saying all that stuff about drinking blood and being reborn, that's when you gotta lock in. And what's crazy is Hawkins was strapped. So if he just pulled out the blammer and started backing up, he might have been able to get to the car and get out of there. Well, I think it's safe to say it's too late for that, and now that he just died after drinking the head vampire's blood, that means he's gonna come back as another vampire under this dude's control. Most of the time, the only way out of that is to kill the head vampire, which for Hawkins means having to smoke his dad, so it looks like that's what he's gonna have to do. But as for Wazy, he doesn't even realize how much Hawkins just helped him out, because if that was anybody else, he'd already be dead. But when the same dude who popped someone right in front of you shows up at your house and gives you a chance to leave, bro, you don't have to tell me twice. I'm saying bye-bye to mom, hopping on that bike and riding off into the sunset. And by the end of the week, I'll be in Vegas trying to forget that this shit ever happened. Because sometimes the best thing that you can do is know when to cut your losses. Okay, but you know what could really come in handy in a how-to-beat situation? A dope custom blicky like the ones in my latest obsession, Urban Heat. Urban Heat's that new first-person shooter on mobile. I mean, I play first-person shooters almost exclusively, so when I found out this joint played super smooth, I was all in. Super dope, it's got a vibey sci-fi LA aesthetic and pretty hilarious characters. I've played 4 rounds before work today already. I mean, it's that fun. And seeing how far graphics have come on a smartphone always trips me out. But yeah, it's got all the customizations that you'd expect with a competitive first-person shooter, which adds to the progression. But yeah, some of the ways that you can customize a weapon include a muzzle, magazine, trigger, stock grip, light, barrel, trinket, bolt handle, rear sight. It's going down. 11 slots and over 50 mods and attachments per weapon, so there's a lot to grind out. I'm partial to automatic weapons myself, so I've been holding down the STA-4 like it's nobody's business. And what really surprised me was how many games I was winning back-to-back this weekend. I mean, that's always a good sign because it means I can take my skills from PC gaming and bring them right over to Urban Heat. For real, this game feels like a total breakthrough moment for mobile shooters, like there's no going back after this. So if you're a shooter fan like myself, download Urban Heat using my link in the description and instantly unlock a powerful STA-4 blueprint loaded with 5 enhanced modules plus 3,000 in-game ducats. A bundle worth over $30 in value. I mean, that gives you some serious edge for your first few games right there. I'm in the lobby right now, and I just queued up again, so I'll see you guys out there. The next morning, Xavier pulls up at the station, munching on a fresh box of donuts, and going to see the captain, he asks why they've never given him a shot at night patrol. Boss says that he's too much of a wild card, so he's gotta prove that he's not a screw-up first. He gets stuck with this dude Rivette since Hawkins is out sick. But while they're out cruising the neighborhood, Wazy's back at home just chilling in his room. Until out of nowhere, bam, Mom comes in and just smashes his speaker against the wall. And she's all like, you better get off your ass and help me with this demon stuff. You see, she's a big believer in the supernatural, and she knows these night patrol dudes are up to some bad shit. So she tells Wazy to get out there and spread the word. Now obviously everyone else thinks that she is whacked out of her mind, so they all start clowning on Wazy for getting bossed around. But once he's done handing out flyers, Mom has him call his brother Xavier and set up a meeting for later that day. Well, now that Xavier knows Wazy's involved in the case, he heads back to the station looking for Hawkins, but sure enough, there's still no sign of him. Instead, he meets with that deputy guy from Night Patrol who tells Xavier that if he arrests his brother, they'll think about giving him a spot on the squad. So they head to the meeting spot, and right away they realize that it is crawling with guys from the blue team. So Officer Rivette's all like, let's call for some backup, but Xavier says that they'll just make things worse. So he tells Rivette to hang back while he goes in by himself. He walks in acting all businesslike and tells Wazy to just give up peacefully. Then frickin' Rivette walks in with a shotty and starts escalating things for no reason. That's when Mom finally gets up to talk to Xavier, and you might think that she'd be like, hey kid, it's nice to see ya, but nah, she just starts dragging him for being a narc. Well, since he's not getting anywhere with her, Xavier starts talking to Wazy again and keeps trying to convince him that they should just leave. But then, all of a sudden, Mom just pulls out the blick and points it straight at Xavier's dome. So Rivette steps in, talking about do it and see what happens, until blam! She just turns around and pops Rivette straight in the noggin. And she tells Xavier that Wazy's not going anywhere, but they're not about to just let him leave without catching a beatdown either, so bang, Xavier hauls off and drops this big guy with one punch. But there's way too many to fight by himself, and they all just jump in and start whooping his ass like a damn piñata. Alright, yikes. I know cop work can be dangerous, but getting jumped by your own mom, it's pretty sad. So obviously it looks like the plan did not work out, and I hate to say it, but honestly, my guy Xavier straight up did this to himself. Like, I know he was just trying to keep things peaceful, but once I pulled up and saw players from the enemy team just chilling all over the place, I'm sorry, but hell nah, there's no way I'm about to just try walking in there and just asking them nicely, so we gotta change the whole strategy right from the start. Bro's first mistake was letting Wazy pick the meeting spot, because I mean, you gotta be stupid not to see that as a trap. I get that he wasn't about to just walk in the station and turn himself in, but letting him pick the spot just gives him total control over the entire situation. So that's never something you want to do. As a cop, Xavier probably got some training on this too, so when they tried setting up the meeting spot on their territory, I would have been like, no way, and told them to meet me on neutral ground, like the local Starbucks or something instead, and that would have made this whole plan a lot safer. But like I said, once I pulled up and saw it was full of ops, there's no chance I'm walking in there without some backup. Now don't get me wrong, leaving this dummy Rivette in the car was the right idea. The only problem was he was just too stupid to stay out of it. But here's the thing, as a cop, Xavier should have been trained to never go in without backup, if he can help it. So I probably would have called a few other cars just to be safe, but asked them to stay low-key. That way we keep things peaceful, but they're around if anything goes wrong. But really though, the safest thing would have been to just call it off and start over. So like me personally, I would have just bailed on the meeting, then waited until Wazy was back out on the streets, and picked him up then. Nice and simple. Oh, but Xavier's not the only one making mistakes here, because I'm still not sure why Wazy hasn't just told him what's going on. He's still keeping this whole weird demonic vampire side of things to himself for literally no reason, when you'd think that'd be pretty important for his brother to know. I mean, Xavier generally had no idea he was about to hand his brother straight to a bunch of vampires, but if they just told him the whole story, then he could actually help them instead of trying to arrest him. Like, maybe it's just me, but personally, I would want to know if the guy I was working for was a vampire, right? But now Mom's over here just blamed a cop for literally no reason, and that's just gonna make things 1,000 times worse. I mean, now Night Patrol literally have a reason to come after her and Wazy, so if she was trying to keep a low profile, then this was probably a bad idea. So yeah, it's pretty safe to say that both sides would have been better off if they just talked it out and worked together, but oh well, too late for that, I guess. Back at the courts, Wazy starts feeling like his mom's magic ain't gonna cut it, so he decides to ring up Bornelius and ask for some help. Well, the good news is those dudes are packing some major heat, and since it's their chance to get revenge on the guys who smoked Primo, they decide that they're gonna help him out. Now it's sunset, and back with the Night Patrol, the boys are getting ready to head out, but the Sarge is over here calling it a hunt and talking about how they're not gonna leave any witnesses. So yeah, whatever they're up to, it sounds like trouble for Wazy and the fam. Meanwhile, Hawkins suddenly wakes up to find his dad standing over him, and while he's still coming to his senses, Pops whips out some sick vampire grills and tells him it's Morbin time. and they stick him in the back of a van as they head for the courts. So it turns out Wazy's mom was right. These dudes aren't just bad cops, they are vampires. And they set this whole thing up to make it look like a turf war between the blue team and the red team. That way, they can go in with no warrant and just wipe everyone out. But the thing is, Bornelius and the fam already figured it out, so now instead of fighting each other, they decide that they're gonna work together and take on the night patrol as a team. So they meet up in front of Wazy's place and start coming up with a plan. Now as for Xavier, he's just waking up from getting pummeled by his own mom, so he picks himself up and stumbles back to the cruiser, where he tries calling for some backup. But when he says they're at the courts, they just tell him night patrol is already there, and they told everybody else to stand down. Now he can tell that something is up, so he decides that he's gonna go in there and get Wazy out himself. But while he's gearing up, he turns around to see Hawkins just standing there right behind him. My guy seems a little out of it, to say the least, but Xavier just decides to roll with it, and they both head off to go find Wazy before it's too late. As soon as it gets dark, Night Patrol hops out and starts heading for the courts, and after sending some of their human minions to clear out their mom's magical barriers, they just start kicking down doors and smoking random people one after another. As they're stacking bodies, they start collecting all the blood into these big tanks on the edge of the neighborhood, and anyone who doesn't get smoked just gets put in a cage to save for later. But when the people who live there try calling the cops, they just say it's all under control, so it looks like they gotta fend for themselves. Alright, well, I guess the conspiracy theorists were right again. And yeah, right about now, these dummies are probably wishing they took Ayanda more seriously, because she's been trying to warn these idiots literally all day. Now look, as crazy as it sounds that a bunch of vampire cops were about to attack the projects, these days, I'm willing to believe pretty much anything. So if Ayanda felt sure about it, that she was handing out packets and setting up magic defenses, I'm gonna have to at least hear her out, and personally, I'd rather prepare for the worst than get caught lacking by a bunch of bloodsuckers, but that's just me. So if I was taking this seriously, then my first plan would simply be to just go somewhere else for the night. I mean, it's pretty simple when you think about it, right? I'd either go to some family or friend's place somewhere in another part of town, or just post up at a hotel or something, and then even if nothing happens, oh well, no big deal. But if it turns out that she was right, I'll just be watching it all on the news while I'm chilling in bed. Then I survived. Easy. But alright, let's say I had to stay at the courts. Well, in that case, the first thing I'm doing is going straight to Walmart and stocking up on garlic, salt, and wooden stakes. Then I'm heading home, boarding up the doors and windows, and putting garlic and salt all by the entrances and just waiting it out. But even if I had a stake, there's no way I'm taking on more than one of these guys if they break in, so that's why I have a secret weapon. Because while I was at the Walmart, I would also pick up a bunch of UV lights, and as we all know, most vampires are weak to sunlight, so if they end up breaking in, all I gotta do is flip on those UV lights and it's GG's. It's a pretty good strategy when you think about it. So that's how I would plan on surviving the night if it was just me, but now that Xavier's trying to save Wazy, that makes things a lot more complicated. He doesn't know that Hawkins is going Twilight mode, but that could actually be a huge help, because everyone knows that one of the best ways to fight a vampire is to be another vampire. So here's the plan. First, we're sending Hawkins over to the cages where he can drink from the blood tanks, bringing him up to full power without having to actually smoke anybody. Then he opens up the cages and lets everyone go, which creates a huge distraction, calls all the vampires over that way. Then while he keeps the vampires busy, Xavier gets over to Wazy's place and picks up his brother and gets the hell out of town. Simple. Now there is one other strategy they should think about here, because if they take out the head vampire, that might take care of the rest of them too. And right now he's back at the hideout by himself, while all his minions are over here, so low-key, this might be their best chance. So if I was Hawkins and the distraction plan didn't work out, I'm hopping in a car heading back to the factory and taking out the old man, cause that might be the only way to stop these freaks for good. Meanwhile, Hawkins and Xavier just got to the courts. The place is pretty much like a war zone with screaming and explosions just going off everywhere. But eventually the urges get so strong that Hawkins cannot hold back anymore. He starts yapping about how he knew these dudes were bloodsuckers even before he signed up. But apparently he just didn't want to believe it and starts telling Xavier to get back before he completely flips out. But it's too late, and all of a sudden the intrusive thoughts win, and he just hauls off and takes a huge bite straight out of Xavier's neck. So yeah, Xavier is toast, and he just looks at Hawkins like, bro, why? As he falls down dead. But Hawkins ain't even done, because he just starts going in on bro's neck like he's back at senior prom. Well, Hawkins eventually snaps out of it, but as he's coming back to reality, poor freaking Wazy shows up only to see the same cop who smoked his girlfriend drinking his brother's blood. Oh man, this dude cannot catch a break. But then suddenly, boom, someone just blasts Hawkins' jaw off completely out of nowhere. It's Bornelius and his dudes from the red team. But while they're busy talking to Wazy, Hawkins starts getting back up, so they all turn around and start blasting him. But he eats the hits and takes off around the corner. Now, this is all kind of a lot for Wazy here, so he finally decides that he's just gonna get his mom and get the f out of there. But then rapper YG reminds him that he still needs to slide on these vampires for Primo and Xavier. So Wazy changes his mind and decides to get in the fight. Meanwhile, Night Patrol is still dragging people off to those cages, so the deputy takes a little break from the action to come mess with them real quick. He starts off about how nobody's gonna miss them anyway, then just pulls this one dude over and cuts his neck right in front of everybody. Cause apparently fear makes the blood taste better. But then his boys show up and says that Wazy's mom has been giving them trouble. So it looks like Big Dog's gotta go take care of it. Well, as soon as he's gone, Hawkins jumps the guard and starts ripping this dude's guts out. Then he just gets up and awkwardly runs away, looking like some broke-ass version of Twilight. But it looks like he's just trying to switch sides. Back with Wazy and the squad, they're still busy arguing about what these Night Patrol dudes even are. Cause, you know, they love their conspiracies, so they can't make up their mind if it's lizard people, demons, or what. But they eventually figure out these dudes must be some kind of vampires. Well, now it's Bornelius and his guys who want to get out of there, but Wazy says his mom should know how to fight these things. So they decide to head over to her place and back her up. They pull up as the deputy's trying to get inside, and Ayanda just drops him with a headshot. But while they're busy celebrating, bro just gets up and starts going after them instead. So YG grabs a cross and starts blasting. But the deputy whips out a knife and murks him right on the spot. Ayanda takes him down again, but while she's reloading, he just gets back up and drops Bornelius. Then hits Wazy with a backhand and knocks him out cold. Well, it looks like that's a wrap for Wazy, but I just gotta say, literally everyone out here is moving like an absolute bot. I'm sorry, but it's true. Like seriously, Hawkins, Xavier, Wazy, even these random dudes are just fumbling left and right. So now that they're basically toast, there's really only one thing left to say, and this time, everybody done up. Now we gotta start with my guy Hawkins first, cause out of everybody, bro might actually be the dumbest guy here. Like I already said, his whole plan was genuinely buns right from the start, but that was before I realized he knew they were vampires. And yeah, that kind of changes everything. Like bro literally had good information that these dudes were all a bunch of Dracula-ass freaks, and he just didn't listen. Well, I guess that was a mistake, so congratulations, buddy, cause you played yourself. But then we got my guy Xavier, and all I gotta say to him is, bro, if a dude's literally over here spazzing out and going to stay back, it's probably not the best idea to go up and give him a hug. Like, I've seen enough movies where if somebody starts acting like that, I'm definitely gonna give them some space until I know what's going on. But Xavier here pretty much just door-dashed this guy his neck, and he ended up paying the price. And I'm just saying that could never be me. And it should never be you either. Now, as for Wazy and his squad, they were doing all right until they ran into the deputy, but after watching the guy get up after he just got blammed in the head, my guy, just get the hell out of there. But instead, this dude YG just walks up and starts blasting him straight in the bulletproof vest, which I gotta say might be the dumbest shit I've ever seen. And then everybody else just stood around watching it happen like, bro, run for your life. I mean, seriously. Well, the truth is they should have just left town 2 days ago, but now it looks like everybody done f***ed up. Waking up, Wazy finds himself on the floor inside one of the tents, and while the deputy is busy with this other guy, Bornelius starts telling Wazy to grab a knife out of his pocket. But he's too slow, and the deputy comes over and starts dragging him away. Only just when it looks like he's cooked, freaking Hawkins just shows up in the doorway, and it looks like he wants to fight. So the deputy gets ready to square up, but then, wha-bam! Hawkins just rocks him straight in the face, and Wazy and Bornelius decide to get out of there, while those two are busy throwing hands. Until finally, Hawkins drops the deputy with some kind of awkward low-budget finishing move, then just pounces on top of the guy and starts chewing on his neck. Once he's done there, Hawkins just dips out and decides to jump this other dude, but just when he's about to start clobbering, his freaking dad starts taking over and holding him back. So Hawkins is over here pretty much fighting the Invisible Man while his dad is trying to get in his head, and that's when they pull this random lady over and start telling him to feed. Somehow the Sarge makes a random knife appear in Hawkins' hand, except instead of going for the lady, Hawkins just turns around and tries to smoke the other guy. But the Sarge stops him at the last second, and the other dude just takes the lady out anyway. And while he's lying there in pain, Hawkins finally gives in and starts drinking the blood. Meanwhile, Wazy finds his mom crying over Xavier's body, and it looks like she's pretty much ready to give up, but the vampires are still out there. So Bornelius says that he's taking off while he has the chance. Just then, Hawkins comes running over with this crazy look in his eyes, but just when he's about to attack, Bornelius comes back and just puts a wooden spike straight through his heart, and it looks like it actually worked. Wazy goes back to tell his mom, but she already figured this stuff out a long time ago, and that's when she breaks out that magic ring. You see, she thinks these night patrol dudes are really just a type of creature called the Obeifo, which is basically just another version of a vampire. So if they really want to defeat them, they have to use their own magic to get it done. Then we jump back to Hawkins, who's still lying there smoked on the ground, but that's when the Sarge starts telling him to wake up again. So it looks like even the wooden stake wasn't enough. Back with the squad, they're still discussing how to take these freaks down. Usually a headshot or a stake through the heart would be enough to do it, but Ayanda's worried they might need more firepower. And apparently she's got exactly what they need back at the crib. But even with all of her secret weapons, they're still worried that it won't be enough. So hopefully sunlight hurts them as well, or else they're screwed. Back with Hawkins, he suddenly wakes up and pulls the stake right out of his heart. Then he notices one of the blood tanks and goes running over to get a drink, bringing him back up to full HP. Meanwhile, the others hear a horn going off and realize it's coming from this random van. But when they get closer, all they see is one of the vampires in the back just going to town. So they rush in and start jumping him with their stakes. That's when Hawkins comes strolling over, and since even the stake wasn't enough to kill him, Bornelius realizes that there's really only one thing left to do. So he tells Wazy and Ayanda to get out of there, as Hawkins sends a bunch of vampires in there to jump them. Then he just sets off this huge explosion and blows them all up. Okay. It looks like Bornelius just got sent to the Shadow Realm. Now, after finding out that even a stake through the heart won't cut it, this might look like a pretty bad situation. As always, I got a plan. Because there's still a few more vampire weaknesses that they're all forgetting about. One thing that doesn't come up a lot is that some vampires can't cross running water. So even though it seems goofy, I'd be going around opening up every fire hydrant in the courts, because that way it might be harder for them to get around and give me more chances to escape. But when it comes to taking them out, there's two things they haven't tried yet. First, it's full-blown decapitation, because even when headshots don't work, completely taking the head off usually does the trick. So next time they take a vampire down, I would chop its head off too, just to be safe. Besides that, they've also got fire, because burning them should outdamage the vampire's healing factor, so I'd be making Molotov cocktails and turning these stakes into torches. That way we're covering all our options. But with that, and whatever Ayanda's got back at the house, they might actually stand a chance at surviving here. So Wazy and Ayanda start running back to the house in this goofy-ass fake slow-mo, while the vampires are all Twilight running around trying to scratch them with their claws. Somehow they do make it back to the place without getting smoked though, and Ayanda's losing a lot of blood, and one of the vampires breaks the news that they're not affected by daylight, so even sunrise is not going to be enough to save them. That's when Hawkins comes walking up holding the deputy's head, but this time he's speaking in his dad's voice, and he starts telling Wazy how they actually turned his dad into one of their vampire servants. So that's why mom had to smoke him back when they were kids. They're getting ready to burn this whole place down if he doesn't give up, but that's when Ayanda gives him the magic ring and says there's more weapons upstairs. So he goes running up there and finds a box that looks like it holds a freaking rocket launcher, but he has no idea that it's something completely different. Dragging it back downstairs, he opens the box only to find this old Zulu armor inside. But when he turns around, his mom is already dead. So Wazy sits down, ready to just give up, but that's when the ring starts glowing green, and realizing it's his only choice, he puts on the gear and steps outside to face the vampires. They all start backing up as soon as he gets close, and even Hawkins falls down and starts begging for help, saying how the chef is still controlling his brain. But Wazy is all like, nah man, you literally smoked everybody I know. But while he's hesitating, the chief starts taking over again. That's when Wazy finally goes for the kill, but Hawkins just catches it, then knocks Wazy down with a nasty backhand. Wazy gets back up and goes for the shard, but Hawkins grabs him as his jaw splits open into this freaky-ass vampire mouth. And suddenly he just takes off and starts lifting Wazy way up into the air. The kid goes for the stab again, but Hawkins catches it, so he winds up and starts punching him with the ring. But on the third shot, he slugs Hawkins straight in the face and pops his head like a damn balloon. So that's how Wazy ended up at the police station with part of the spear still stuck in his body. But the story is not over yet. The captain starts pressing him for more information about what happened, so Wazy finally turns around and just lets it all spill. He starts telling him how Night Patrol are actually all vampires and they slaughtered everyone at the courts just to harvest their blood. But the captain just looks at him dead in the eyes like, and? Yeah, it turns out even the captain is in on it, and he says they've all been around since long before he took over, but at the end of the day, he says they're still cops, so he's not about to take Wazy's side over theirs. Instead, he unlocks Wazy's cuffs and tells him to get up, then takes him over to a back door that leads out of the station, but on the other side, Wazy finds himself in this messed up looking room, and the spear in his chest starts glowing again as the Sarge steps out to confront him. He says he's gonna smoke Wazy for what he's done, but while he's busy yapping, Wazy just pulls the shard out and puts it straight through his chin. And blam, this dude just explodes into a million pieces. But he's not safe yet, because that's when all the other vampires step out of the shadows, and Wazy rushes in to take them on as we cut to credits. So in the end, that makes an entire neighborhood down, plus a few vampire cops. But even though we never get to see who wins, I think there's one thing we can all agree on: Wazy shoulda got the hell out of town while he had the chance. Night Patrol. And when I tell you I f with this movie, I f with this movie. Vampires in the Hood, sheesh. It's my favorite genre. But if you guys would have done anything differently, you need to let me know what that is down in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe. Check out that How to Beat playlist for more videos just like this one. I'm Ben. We'll see you in the next video, and have a damn good day.